Hi everyone, VortexTCG here, and today I'm going to be showcasing you my up-to-date deck list for Yellow Vaccine. And I think at this point there needs to be a bit of a conversation about Yellow Vaccine. I'll probably make a video about it because this is something that's kind of interesting that's happened with the deck now with the introduction of BT15 support. But this version is going to be primarily aggro, so this isn't going to be a control build. This is primarily just going to be hit your opponent in the face while you recover and gain effects from doing so. So if you're looking forward to this version of the deck, please do like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. And let's get into the deck profile. Okay, so we are here with the deck profile. I'm going to be going over all the cards and talking about them and their use in the deck, because I think there are some things that, you know, people... The good thing about Yellow Vaccine is that it is a very toolboxy deck, so you can play it in many different ways. And so I want to be talking about the reasons why I play certain cards. A lot of this is standard, but there are some things that you might think are a little bit interesting, considering where we have BT15 support, essentially. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the eggs, and we're going to be playing 1, 2, 3, 4 Chiaromon. The reason why I play Chiaromon is because this is the best aggro card that you can be playing in this version. You do have obviously the Tokomon, which allow you to draw a card when a card is removed from the security stack, but in reality you need to have this card if you want to play any sort of aggro. This goes well with stuff like the Bulkmons that we play, but also just generically because we also trash a lot of cards or remove cards and then add cards back to the security. So for the most part that just means this is a free jamming and you play 4 of it in the deck. Going on to level 3s, and we have Patamon here. Obviously you're going to be playing 4 of this is because it is the main starter of the deck, and for that reason you do have to play at 4. But yeah, this essentially just means that you're potentially able to go for 2 swings on the second turn essentially, which is quite huge, but you can also accelerate even further depending on what your resources are at that time. So essentially this just means that you get to, you know, do 2 swings at jamming, and that is perfectly fine. And if not, you get to use some utility cases as well with other cards as well. So yeah, the card is good and you play it at 4. Pillowmon is another important card in the strategy currently. This is your main, I guess, defense against cards that play stuff through effects. So stuff like Numemon, stuff like, you know, Leviamon, all that kind of stuff. You want to be seeing this card all the time essentially and playing it when you can. Obviously, you know, there are only 3 copies in this deck. You can definitely play 4, and I probably recommend that you play 4 at this point and maybe cut another card later on. But yeah, this card is just a good card in the current meta, and you do have to play 3 of it in the deck. Rounding off the rookies, we have the Kudamon. This is just your generic searcher, reveal top 3, add a yellow vaccine and a yellow tamer to your hand, and then has an inheritable if there are 6 or fewer security cards, do -2k to a Digimon. You play this for the searcher effect, essentially. There isn't that many searchers in this deck or around this deck that's generic as this. So you do play this, but you don't play it at 4 because you essentially just been playing the Patamons for the most part. This is something you just hard play. And the deck, while it doesn't have a lot of search, you do draw a lot due to security, like evolving essentially, digivolving. So yeah, you do play 3 of this in the deck. Then we get into a brand new card in BT15 Gatomon. It has an effect, so if it gets trashed from security, you get to play it for free. That's cool, but its main effect that we're looking for is the barrier keyword. So it has barrier as its own card, but it also has an inheritable as well. It also has a nice effect of all turns, once per turn, when a card is removed from security, gain 1 memory. The memory gain is also just generically quite nice, and if you're, for example, going into this from Patamon, the card does see the security be taken, so you're able to gain the essential another memory here as well. So not only are you getting some draws, but you're also getting some memory here as well. So the main reason why we like this is because of barrier, and the reason is because this just means this card is just something that your opponent can't deal with. You just swing at security. If it is going to die, you barrier, and then sometimes that barrier has upsides, but also, you know, just being able to swing and they have to answer this card out makes this card good enough in my mind. So we play 4 of it in the deck. Then we get into Bulkmon from BT6, and this is just a, while you have 3 or more security, this card gains security attack +1. Essentially, if you go into this from a Patamon, this essentially just means that you're able to get 2 checks straight away, and that is pretty powerful in the current game state alone, so it is good for that reason. But also, you know, it's just not that bad as a card at all. And yeah, this is, while you might think it drops off later on, it actually really doesn't. You still find uses for this card, even if you don't think you won't be able to get the effect. So yeah, we play 4 of it in the deck. Lastly, we play 3 Angemon. This card is still pretty good in the deck, in my opinion. It has a bit of a control element if you need it. So if there's a virus, or if you want to do -5k, you could do that. But also you could hatch an egg and put this to the top of your or bottom of your security stack, and for that reason you're just able to get, you know, recycling going a lot more quicker, a lot more, you know, impactful, while also impacting their side of the board as well. So this card is still really good, but unfortunately it doesn't have the same power as something like, you know, the Gatomon or the Bulkmon, unfortunately, but it's still a generically good card. And the inheritable as well, on deletion, put a card in your security, does come up sometimes. You'd be surprised how many times it actually does. So yeah, we play 3 of it in the deck. Going into level 5s, we have Angie, Womon, Ace, and yeah, this is the normal Blast Digivolve effect, but it also has the on-play when Digivolving effect of trashing the top or bottom of your security and do -6k to one of your opponent's Digimon. And then if a card is removed from security, while you have 3 or fewer security, you get to recover 1. So if they swing to security and you have 3, lower to 2, you can automatically recover. This card is good in combination with the Seraphimon, because essentially it just means that you have a somewhat of a lock, because essentially what they're going to have to do is remove the Angiwomon, and there isn't really much removal other than the Leviamon stuff. So essentially they have to, because if they swing, you go recover 1 and then you go Seraphi -7k. So essentially, you know, it's just a constant loop, and that is good in itself. But yeah, the control aspect of this card is nice, but yeah, the recovery +1 when you do take 1 is quite nice, especially as you kind of need it in certain scenarios. So yeah, you play it at 3. Then we play 3 Rise Greymon, and you might be wondering, why do we even play this card anymore? Is it even good? And yeah, it's still a really good card. It turns out playing a Tamer for free, even if you don't get its on-play effects, still pretty good. This essentially is mainly used for the inheritable though. Obviously, you know, you use your when Digivolving effect to get to the inheritable quicker, but the inheritable allows you to get security attack +1 if you have 3 or more Tamers in play. And that's not difficult. That's kind of easy in this deck, even though you only play 6 Tamers. So you play 3 of this card. It is a key piece in your, you know, damage potential to your opponent. Then we play 2 Rise Grey X. You can definitely change this out for something if you don't want to play this, but I like playing this because, again, it's just another free Tamer, but it also does -DP for every Tamer you have in play. That DP sometimes comes up, especially when you're dealing with stuff like, you know, rookies that, you know, control the field, or just trying to get rid of a bigger target. Like, for example, at my locals the other day, I was able to use this and then going into Seraphimon to get rid of a Death Xmon, which, you know, is pretty important. So for that reason, I do like playing this card at 2. Then we play 4 Seraphimon. Look, this is an aggro deck, and this card facilitates the aggro playstyle while also being controlling in some aspects. You recover 1 when you Digivolve, and you're also able to do -7k and security attack +1 to this Digimon. Look, the security attack +1 is also nice. Essentially with this and the Rise Grey, you're doing 3 checks at 12, but bearing in mind, you're also able to, you know, get jamming from the egg, maybe barrier from the Gatomon, and for that reason this card is very good at what it does. I can't wait to get the alternate art one of this. It's gonna be quite nice, but yeah, in this list you do play 4 of it in your deck. For secondary level 6s, you play 2 Metamamon. This card has when Digivolving and when attacking, play level 4 or lower by trashing a security card. And then that has rush for the turn. All your Digimon gain barrier, and then opponent's turn, depending on how many security both of you have, cards lower than or equal gains security attack -2. This is a nice control card. You're not really going to be using that for the most part because you're going to be recovering most of the time, but it's just that additional guy that you can play. Stuff like if you're able to go into this and then go into something like the Bulkmon and you have the egg underneath, you're essentially able to do another 2 checks with jamming, which is really good as it turns out. But not only that, you can use stuff like the Digimon, which has some control aspects that so if you need to get rid of something like a blocker or a virus or something like that, right, you're able to do that and also hatch an egg and also put something into security, which is huge. And then also stuff like the Gatomon, it just has barrier, so you'll be able to survive a security check either way. So it's also important to note that that Digimon gains rush, so if you digivolve on top of that, you're able to continue the rush effect. So in certain situations you can get some advantage that way as well. So you do play 2 of this. I think it is probably the best level 6 outside of the Seraphimon in the aggro version. Finally, we have Shine Greymon Ruin Mode. This is kind of like your card that you play if you just want to completely shut your opponent out of the game, because that's what it does. When digivolving, -5k blanket, on deletion, -5k blanket, and then even when end of attack, when you swing with this guy, delete this Digimon and then delete one of your opponent's Digimon, recover 1, and then hatch an egg into an empty space. This card does a lot, and there's a reason why this card is quite expensive at this point. This card is a no-brainer in this strategy, but you don't play more, you only play 1 of it because you're able to find it quite easily in security if needed. Then we have 4 TK. This is the heart and soul of the deck. This is the card that you want to be using to fuel up your security with cards that you actually want to be seeing in security. And not only are you doing that, but you're gaining memory on the way. And trust me, once you get to a point in like mid to late game where you have 4 of these out, and when you just go into something like a Patamon and gain like +4 memory for free, it's insane. And that pressure, I don't think anything can really deal with that, because at that point, even if you're set to 1, you're gaining like a net 5 memory for just doing your effect. So yeah, you do play 4 TK. It is the heart and soul of the deck. We also play 2 more TK in the BT1 version. This is your set to free Tamer. Sometimes you need it because sometimes you just need to go into a level 5 and then maybe cheaply into a level 6, which we'll get onto in a bit. But the recovery +1 also matters quite a bit, because not only are you removing a card because you're adding a yellow card to your hand, but you're also recovering 1 as well. So stuff like, the Seraphimon will be able to trigger. Stuff like, the Angiwomon will be able to trigger if you're still at free security. So yeah, for that reason, this card is very good. And also, this searches out pretty much all of your other cards that are yellow. So, the Shine Greymon, for example, your options, Tamers if you need them. It has a wide range of uses in the deck. So we do play 2 of it in this version. Then we play probably one of the best cards ever created, Emissary of Hope. This is essentially a Digivolve for free on crack and can recover for some reason. The reason why I play 4 of this is because we are a TK focused list. We do not play the Kari version because, in my opinion, Kari is more control-y in that regard, but I don't think it does enough. I can't remember what the option's called, but it's the 4 cost that does -5k blanket. I don't like that as much in this version, even if I was to remove the 4 cost TKs. This card just does so much more than that. Not only are you looking for your security stack, so you're getting knowledge, but you're also digivolving for free. Huge. Gaining draws, gaining memory from that alone. And if you have a TK, which you always will, you'll be able to recover +1 as well. And the security effect is also just insane. Play a Patamon for free and then add this to your hand. Look, this card just does everything. And there's definitely people that would like to lower this card for other cards, but for me, this card just does everything, and this card is essentially a cheat code for this deck. So I play 4 of it in this version. Lastly, we play 4 physical training. This is your main searcher of the deck, but it's also going to help you reduce your Digi-Evolution costs. This obviously helps us find more options, but also the Tamers as well, which is hugely important, especially as we really do need to get those TKs from BT14 going to get the advantage advantage going even further. So yeah, we play 4 of it. The reduction itself as well is good because a lot of the stuff at the higher end, for example the Seraphi, it costs 4 to go into. If you can reduce that by 2, you know, definitely a lot better in my opinion. So we play 4 physical training. Well, that was my deck profile for Yellow Vaccine. At the moment, like I said, I'll make a video about it, but it feels like whatever way you decide to build Yellow Vaccine at the moment, you kind of get to an end where it's like there's other control decks that can do the job better, and there's also other aggro decks that can do the job better. So you find yourself in this weird like mishmash area where the deck isn't good at exceeds at one area. It kind of feels like a bit of a jack of all trades, kind of like a toolbox-y deck. So let me know what you think about this version of Yellow Vaccine. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.